Yeah. Today I'm talking about the problems. And for every problem, there's a solution. And I specialize in problem solving. And the problem I'm discussing today is so called white supremacy in the United States. And the solution for battling white supremacy, so called, is economics. Because the strength of white supremacy is economics. And little do you know, the so-called Negro actually finances white supremacy and putting money into their financial institutions, into their banking institutions, and supporting their businesses, and actually working for them. Because when you work for them, they're giving you a small fraction of what your labor is worth. You're giving them free equity by giving them your skilled labor and your intellectual property, the brain drain. If you was to utilize your own efforts towards yourself, you'll be able to pull out 100% of your own value and your own worth to increase your own, net worth. But the so-called Negro as a whole, they decided to go and work in the Caucasian banks, the Caucasian institutions, and give them their skilled labor for a fraction of what it's worth, giving them net profits and gains, and giving them the financial ability to annihilate you, to destroy and to gentrify your communities, to build prisons, to close your schools, to bulldoze your houses. We're doing this by financing these people in their banks and their insurance companies. And at one point in history, actually more than one point in American history, we actually proved that economics can devastate so-called white supremacy. Case in point, one example was the so-called bus boycotts of the Birmingham bus departments, formulated by Martin Luther King and whatnot. And they actually brought the city to their knees just by not supporting their buses. And when segregation was the law of the United States, which is still the law, but economic segregation, meaning that black people were separate but equal, so you had to have your own financial institutions, your own banks, your own schools, your own restaurants, hotel chains, everything. And this caused the so-called black people to harness the majority of their resources and made them extremely wealthy. And the reaction to that was they had to destroy that. They destroyed it physically, literally, when they burnt down Black Wall Street. And also they destroyed it when they convinced Negroes that it was their idea to integrate economically, meaning that and integrate economically with a net loss, with a trade deficit, meaning that you giving most of your resources to another group of people and they're giving you nothing in return, and you think this is freedom. This was integration caused. You gave your own financial independence to give all your money away to non-black people. But this was the trick. But the solution, easy. All you gotta do is just pull your money out of these financial institutions, put them into black banks and insurance companies. Also, you need to figure out a way to maximize your own intellectual prowess and intellectual property, so you could profit off of more of your labor. Or if you just want to profit off of what you're being paid now, I mean, you might have to work less, which actually increases your quality of life. Instead of giving most of the profits of your labor to a Caucasian-controlled corporation, making them extremely wealthy and valuable while you just sitting back paycheck to paycheck. But yeah, whatever you're getting paid now, instead of putting them into a so-called Caucasian-controlled bank, put that money into a black bank and give them the power to finance the so-called black independence movement, economic independence movement. You need more entrepreneurs and more scientists and researchers and more think tanks. And everybody shouldn't have to worry about working 9 to 5. We need people that specialize in whatever it is that they do, so they could actually improve the entirety of the group. And we need banks to do this, black-owned banks who will finance these people. and also we need to get into governance. But first, you got to get your economic base. Booker T. Washington taught us about this over 120 years ago, about first having an economic base. And for the 120 years, the Uncle Tom Boule, black talented tent Greeks, the get along, go along groups have been trying to force feed us into integration. It has been 120 years of failure. You know, that plan hasn't really produced any type of fruit and benefit. It's just been a waste of 120 years. Really 120 years of lying dormant. We could have been prospering economically, independently, and educationally, independently, instead of focusing on getting cool and being next to your oppressor and your enemy, who we fought a whole civil war to get separated and free from. But the solution, easy solution, is to just, as an individual, just find a black-owned bank and put some money into that bank. Open up an account. That's really all you got to do. And if you're paying auto insurance, home insurance, find a black-owned insurance company and transfer your policy over to the black-owned insurance policy. That's about it.